coming from a background with not a lot of financial help. And I've stayed at EOU because I've found people that I love, and I've just fallen in love with the area and the scenery, and I think it's a great school.
Sure. I came to EOU. I'm from North Powder, so I wanted to stay close to home, close to my family. I have a lot of elderly family that I have helped. Several of them have passed on, so I'm kind of hanging around for them. And then my great grandpa was also a mathematics professor here. He had his PhD. I don't want to go anywhere else, and I have everything I need here. And so, yeah.
My goal in going to college was to graduate debt-free. And so that's originally why I started at a community college, because they're significantly cheaper. And upon graduating from Treasure Valley Community College, looking at my options, EOU, I was really struggling to find a degree that I wanted to go into because I was an ag science major, but I'd realized that science wasn't the degree I wanted to go into. And EOU had just started a program, agriculture entrepreneurship, which was a business major with a focus on ag and the science side of it. And so I talked to an advisor, got enrolled, and transferred this year, and I've loved it every day being here at EOU.
I mostly came here also because I saw it was the cheapest option in my area. I also came here because I heard they had really small class sizes compared to most other schools, which I need because I get a bit ADHD and I need help focusing and stuff. So I'm really glad that that is what they have here.
I just think for me, EOU runs in the family. Both my parents went here. All my aunts and uncles that went to college went here. I'm a small town boy, grew up in a town. My graduating class was 32. Class size meant a lot to me. I went on a big tour between my junior and senior years of high school, and the campus just felt like a tight-knit community. And for me, that was the selling point for EOU.
I picked EOU because I'm originally from a big city and a big high school, and where I went to school was very much you were a number, not a person, and I didn't want to repeat that in college. So I looked into smaller colleges, and I also want to be a teacher, and this is one of the best places in Oregon to get a degree in teaching. So I like the small community and actually getting to know my teachers and classmates.
Very nice.
Right, and so for our next question, we're asking about which TV show has had the most impact on you as a person.
I think Xavier.
There's been quite a few TV shows that have an impact, but I said the biggest one to me was Phineas and Ferb, the Disney show, because I was a pretty creative kid, so I'd try to do my own little creations while watching that show as they did their stuff. So that was a pretty big thing for me.
This is a difficult question for me because I didn't watch a whole lot of TV growing up. I think I'd have to say Tom and Jerry, just because that's all I grew up on was watching Tom and Jerry. And I'm not sure exactly what I took away from it, but it was a very fun pastime just watching them kind of beat each other up a little bit.
I would have to say the show that's had the biggest impact on me would have to be Shameless, because if I'm doing better than Frank Gallagher, like I'm doing something right in life.
I would say Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I have literally watched it like 9 times, all the seasons, and it's just one of my favorite shows because I mean now it's a comfort show for me, but it's also just funny, and I mean there's good life lessons in there too, and it's a feel-good show and I like it.
I think my answer is a little silly because as an 8-year-old, I watched Mythbusters, which so I was always watching STEM related shows, like even the cartoons I grew up on were STEM related, and I think a lot of that has to be the reason behind why I'm going into a STEM field.
Well, I wanted to say Fox and the Hound, but that's a movie, so I think I'm gonna have to go with another STEM related one. I liked How It's Made.
Oh, yeah.
That one, I watched it every weekend day at 9 a.m. with my great grandma, and we really explored how things were made. Those were some good times.
Moving on. What issues do you intend to address on behalf of the students? Katrina.
So personally, there is the missing and murdered indigenous women that I relate to, for being from Chicano descent. I really feel for that missing Native portion, and there are a lot of statistics that they associate with living on the res and things like that, that I think require a lot more attention. I also feel strongly for the LGBTQ plus community, as well as suicide awareness and fentanyl, as I have lost, I work in retirement homes with elderly folks, and I have lost more friends from my youth than I have elderly patients from drugs and suicide. So I'd like to help out with mental health and substance abuse.
To me, it's really getting to know the student body and learning what issues they are facing in the here and now, because I can go on and on and say what matters to me and things I care about. And there's important things to me, like student safety, mental health, like having those resources available and knowing what resources to use to get good grades, which are all simple factors. But when it comes to the larger factors of what to tackle, to me, it's get to know the student body, get to know the issues they're facing or they want to see tackled, and listen to them and tackling those.
Like Ty said, it's about getting to know the student body more, but until I could find out, I think the main thing I would focus on is the current deficit our university is facing. We're in approximately $3.6 million deficit, so we definitely need to find a way to up retention and find a way to limit fees while keeping prices somewhat low for our students.
Yeah, I think Xavier touched on one thing that is my main point, and that is retention. I think retention is probably my biggest issue I see, and I think we need to do more to try and stomp out the students that are trying to leave and like persuade them to stay here, give them reasons to stay here. But all in all, I do think we need to just see what the biggest issue is for the vast majority of the students and go after that issue.
So I've said this before, but I feel like there's three kind of big issues, and that is the financial burden of college. We demographically are low income students across campus. So that is something everyone faces. Most of the people on this panel did say they chose this because it was the cheapest college. And right now it looks like a struggle to keep it that way for most people with our retention so incredibly low. I think Calvin said the last time he checked it was 25% is our graduation rate. And so we need to up retention. That way we don't have to up fees so much, because when it goes from 3 students covering one thing to 2 students covering one thing to 1 student covering that thing, like that is more and more on that student. So it makes it harder and harder for that student to remain while the other students are leaving. So if we can get everyone to stay, that is a very important factor. And to get our retention to go up, or at least flatline instead of going down, we need to work on our campus environment. So I see these bigger issues, and I want to start at the ground on things we actually can fix, like student involvement or just the environment on campus, how to make people feel welcomed and stay welcomed.
I agree with a lot that was already said, but specifically kind of what Haley was saying about retention affecting the cost of our university. I believe that education is a right that everyone should have, and it's shouldn't be a privilege, it should be a right. And by being the one of the cheapest options in Oregon, I think it's important to keep that in mind when trying to raise our retention, that the end goal is to keep that price sustainable. I also, one of the big things I've focused on in my last 2 years as a senator is making sure to use my voice and my vote to make sure that all underrepresented students on our campus feel heard.
Very nice.
Great. So building off of that, building off the information you've given us so far, tell us a little bit about a past weakness or a current area within yourself. that needs improvement. How have you overcome this, and or how are you working towards making this strength?
I will begin with you.
All right. Just give me 1 second to collect my thoughts. It's been a long week for me. I think probably my personal largest weakness is there's a lot of things I'm excited to jump on, try and do. I want to be successful, I want to be engaged with clubs. I want to stay active, go to the gym, and I also want to get good grades. Sometimes I load my plate a little too full, and then usually something's got to go. And I always find a way to prioritize what's most important to do and prioritize, grades first, then making those meetings, getting to clubs. In the gym time, I fit in when I can. It's probably an area I can improve on, and ways I'm working to improve on is just get better at building a calendar, building a schedule, and scheduling things further and further out. And that's my answer. Thank you.
Sure.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Tell us about a past weakness or current area of improvement. Sorry. Tell us about a past weakness or current area for improvement. How do you overcome this, and or how are you working towards making it a strength?
Very much like Ty said, I am super ambitious, very driven, hate to sit still, have to go do anything and everything, and it's gonna get done that day. So I did start using Planner and prioritizing things, and it seems to have chilled it out. One that I do consistently struggle with is my anxiety. It came out pretty strong during statistics, and I had to swallow my pride and go speak with a physician and seek out help. And I think that's my biggest thing is I'm always like, I'm gonna do it, let's go do it. Heck yeah, my answer is never no, more stuff, let's be active. But then I also don't reach out for help, and now I'm stressed and overwhelmed. So learning to ask for help instead of being so stubbornly independent, and being like writing everything down and being like one thing at a time.
Perfect. The thing that I have struggled with my entire life is unfortunately something that I can't control, but is something that I've found ways to cope with, which is my dyslexia. This has obviously affected my life greatly with education. I cannot spell to save my life, and there's a lot of writing in college, and just in education in general. But I have found ways to get support, like you were saying. Like I've gotten support through the Disability Center here on campus, and they have been amazing. And just being able to ask for that help and find ways to problem solve and not let it be a boundary or like a hurdle I have to jump. But I mean, it's something that affects me every single day, but I just can't let it get to me.
Okay, so something that I have always struggled with is remembering that I have a right to my opinion and my voice and like sharing it, which is kind of funny because I'm on student government, I've been in student government, and that's something that I've made a lot of really good improvement on. I no longer hold my tongue during every single thing. I share my opinion, and as like a challenge to myself more recently, I've been trying to also play like a devil's advocate, because not only is it kind of scary to share your own opinion in front of a group of people, it's scary to disagree with others sometimes. And that's something I've made a lot of improvement on. And I don't remember the last time I actually held my tongue in a meeting when it came to speaking up for something I believe in.
I think my past greatest weakness has been that if I always hold myself to try and be perfect at anything I start, and when I'm not, I really beat myself up about it. So I've been finding ways to kind of cope with that. And when things don't go my way, people will see me joking about it. That's my new coping mechanism. I like to crack jokes about things that don't go my way instead of just being negative about the issue. But yeah, I think that's probably my biggest past weakness. I think I'm getting better at it. It's still a work in progress, but we're getting there.
I would say my biggest weakness, like Shakira says, asking for help. I was during school or high school, it was a breeze. And now that I'm in college, I don't know how to study properly. I don't know how to do homework properly. And instead of asking the professor for help, a way I found to cope was to ask fellow peers how they do it and how they work through it. Because I don't want to ask the professor as much as I enjoy my professors. It's just kind of like I kind of degrade myself, like I mentally pelt myself whenever I do that. So I just found a way to cope, thankfully. But yeah, that's my biggest weakness.
Very nice. Moving on. What, if anything, would you like to gain or learn from this position? Haley, we'll begin with you.
I feel like I am always learning, no matter where I am, and especially over the last 2 years as a senator. Right? Yes, this is my second year as a senator. I've learned so much coming to a college. I didn't know much on how they were ran or what fees went where or how any of that worked. And now after sitting on student government, I have a general to fairly good understanding of most of those things. And that's kind of something I want to do is help pass that understanding along, more transparency in how things work.
I agree a lot with what Haley's saying. We've been in the Senate together the whole time, and so this, if I was elected again, this would be my 3rd year. And I mean, I learn something new every single meeting, every single time I talk to another ASEOU member. And I think just that constant learning is super important. Something else that I've been able to gain and want to continue to gain from this position is getting to meet other students and hear their opinion, hear what their problems are, as well as hearing the perspective of the staff and our professors and the board of trustees and the presidents, and just getting to hear just how much work actually goes into making this university work and how every single thing affects everyone. I think that's just super fascinating and something that I love to learn more and more about every single day.
I would say what I'm interested in learning is community. I have 7 years ambassador experience with rodeo, and as they mentioned, every single year, every single meeting, you learn so and so much more. And this community has given me so much. I need to learn about the community. I need to put myself out there. I need to meet people, talk to people. What is important? Because rodeo is just one narrow little section. This is very broad. You're gonna meet people from all over different places, and this small, amazing little corner of the world is now gonna be so much bigger meeting all those people. Just broadening.
One thing I hope to gain from this position is connections, meeting more faculty, seeing more faces, and learning, getting to know more about the college overall. This is my 1st year here, so I have a little more limited time of getting to know and introduce into how all the colleges ran. What I hope to learn is specifically what goes on behind the scenes to make a university and a college accessible, or to shape the culture on campus that students want to come here and want to stay here for all 4 years. Retention has been brought up, graduation rates been brought up, and I think a lot of students pick their college based on the feel they get when they visit. And if the culture is what shapes that feel, if that feel isn't there for the students, then they're not going to decide to come here. But if we can shape a culture where it's a feeling of community and support, and we're going to get through this together, we might get more students here.
What I hope to learn and gain is just like seeing everything, like Ty said, seeing everything behind the scenes. I like seeing things from different perspectives as well, because I know we have a very diverse group of people right now on the Senate with different opinions and everything. So I think that's a very good thing to learn and see is that, and also like Ty said, also connections with different faculty. Like I've met some very nice people on the student health committee and all them. So yeah.
I think for me, what I'd like to gain is new perspectives. And I've seen that. I've been a senator this past year, and what's been happening is people will show up, or there will be an agenda item that doesn't really affect me, but I see how it's affecting other people, and I'll be like, oh, this is an issue. And I've really enjoyed, well, I don't enjoy the problems there, but I've enjoyed getting to see that perspective of, there are issues that don't affect me, but I'm in the position where I can help change it. And I really like getting to see that.
Awesome. So our next question is, What is the biggest asset that you bring to the table?
I think the biggest asset I bring to the table is probably my determination. I know earlier I called my perfectionism a weakness, but there's kind of a difference between perfectionism and the lingering determination that is kind of a byproduct of that. And I've been trying to isolate that from it. And I think when I'm determined to make a change, I like to go all out to try and get that change done.
One of the things I'd say that I bring to the table, I know this sounds bad, but it's stubbornness, because when I'm really want to find something out, I will go through every route possible to get something done. Kind of like Tim said, determination. When I have a goal in mind, I just really go for it until every possibility is exhausted.
I think the biggest characteristic that I can bring to the table is the ability to like work in a team or compromise, because there's always the two sides of the coin. There's somebody on this side of it and somebody wants this, and they both want different things. And either like, if you go one way, then you totally disrespect or don't think about this party. If you go the other way, same story, different direction. I was just at the Capitol this week, and you got to talk to a lot of senators and representatives who they try and get bill passed or something passed, and it won't work because they aren't willing to move the requirements and compromise with the other party to get that bill passed. And so I think stubbornness is a really important factor to have when something the students need and want, but that ability and willingness to work together and compromise on issues so that both parties gain something is important. That's what I can bring to the table. Thank you.
I would have to say, my ambition, like, you want something done, I'm getting it done, and it doesn't matter how I get it done, and it'll be done in a very timely manner. I get very enthusiastic when I have a project or I'm into something, and I'm going for it. There's no halving it. It is all or nothing, so gotta give it your all.
I kind of have two. My first one is kind of my seniority in this group as in this role. Like I mentioned before, that this would be my third year and as a senator in ASEOU. And I think that is kind of unique because most of the time freshmen aren't even able to join as a senator. And I was lucky enough to be able to join my freshman year because there were open seats. And I know this role. I know what it takes to make this role happen. And I understand what needs to happen to make this role be successful and good. Another one of my strengths that would help this role is that I am not from here at all. I am from the Tacoma area, and so I have a different perspective, I feel like, than a lot of other students here, because most students that I've at least seen are from this area, which sometimes there can be this like small town mindset and people can sometimes get stuck in their ways. But like I've seen with my perspective as being from a bigger area, that it's okay to move forward and it's okay to keep growing. And I just want to bring that mindset to our Senate.
So the strengths that I have is I have taken on a lot of like peacemaker roles. That sounds kind of weird, but with that, I've gotten really good at putting my own bias aside and listening to every side and trying to help come up with that compromise that was mentioned earlier. And I think being able to put your bias aside, especially in a rural area where so many people are so stuck in their own beliefs, is a very strong ability to have. And it kind of plays off of my weakness that I've been working around, which is that I hold back my opinion sometimes, but in some moments it's great to be able to help put aside your differences and look at what's best for the greater good.
Wonderful. Elena, how will you help promote ASEOU student government?
Yes. like I mentioned before, I'm a marketing major, so this is my jam. I definitely believe in the power of social media, and just if you share one post on like your personal Instagram, then that's at least maybe like 10 more people at the school that's going to see that post, and then that's 10 more people that would share it and talk about it to their friends, and it's kind of just that like butterfly effect, and so I think social media is super, super powerful. And I also just think word of mouth is huge here too at our school, and just being able to talk to students and talk to staff and promote our events and make sure that students show up, and so that they're successful and that ASEOU can continue to grow, and to also make sure that we're doing our job, which is representing all of our students here on campus.
Like I said, I have 7 years experience ambassador work, so I have a very good network from, I did the Columbia River Circuit, so I got California, Washington, and Idaho and Oregon down pretty well connection wise. My social media has been built up since I was a sophomore in high school, people who support me and support the things I care about. Once again, social media is wonderful. I am also good at fundraisers, going to luncheons, going to meetings, making those connections, getting people to come to the rodeo. My last year rodeo court, I went to 5 different counties and hung up over 500 posters. I did radio ads. Currently, as part of my campaign, I am sitting out in Hoke and just playing trivia so that I can get to know the student body and they can get to know me as a person, because it's easy to read an ad. There's ads everywhere, but they have to be able to connect to you in a way that will get the message out and not be like, I'm gonna click next after that 5 seconds on my YouTube video. So.
For me, I think it's really important just to connect with the students where they're at, because sometimes it's not always the dramatic things that you might do to see the students, connect with them, or go out of your way to do. Sometimes the best way to me to connect with the student body is just talk with them. We have classes together. I see lots of them in the gym. I'm currently working as an RA, so I have lots of freshmen that I get to see and talk to and make sure their education is being successful. And I think it's just, instead of being so dramatic about it, for me personally, I like to just have a conversation, talk, get to know them, and let them know, like, I'm here for you, and here's what I'm about, here's what I'm doing, and here's things we're working on, and just ask them what their opinion is on it. Because you can do a lot with surveys and social media. And for me, I think it's more important just to talk to and connect with students one-on-one.
I also think that talking to students is fairly important. Although I have a bit of social anxiety, I at least try to attend. Like if I know people in class, I'll talk to them usually. I think the info line and the podcast are also great ways to promote us. I don't have a lot of social media, but I heard it works really well. But I really do not have it. So I just really think it's really just stress the importance of like meeting people face to face so you can get to know them, have that personal connection. Like Shakira and Ty said, it's really important to have that personal connection.
So this past year, I've had the opportunity to be the media director for one of the clubs on campus, which I did not imagine because I'm still trying to figure out how to operate all my social media accounts. I do have to say my preferred mode of like communication with the students has to be face-to-face communication with them. Gonna get a little sneak peek here of what I have that I'm trying to get on an agenda for one of the upcoming Senate meetings, which is we have our podcast, but we also have an Instagram account. And in my time doing the media director work, something I found that really gets engagement with our age group is those Instagram reel things. And I posted one of those on our socials for the club I run, and it blew up way bigger than any of our posts did. So I'm going to try and introduce the idea that the Senate start doing more reels to engage with the students.
Okay. So we were asked a similar question at the last forum that I attended, and I'm going to stand by my answer then. I don't know if many of you know this, but the Ed College does coffee times with 2 of the like head professors over there. And I attended a couple of those last year, and I think they're really great to have that like one-on-one connection of you're just kind of sitting and talking. And I think it'd be really fun for the Senate to do that like once a month or like once or twice a term, where just anyone who's a part of the Senate, senator, president, director, office assistant, whoever, can like all gather at like the copy lounge in the library, or even just like hang out in Hoken for a little while and just be there to talk with people about student government, the college, anything, everything, the weather, how the snow was up on the mountain, like just build that one-on-one connection. Because while social media is such a dominant factor in our like daily lives at this point, because it's the 21st century, woo, technology, I still think that one-on-one connection is so much more important, because I can sit and stare at a screen for hours a day. Cool, awesome. There's like billions of people I can talk to through a tiny screen, but there's only so many people I can have face-to-face conversation with and truly know on a personal level. And I think that's a little more important.
Thank you. This is for everyone. What type of leader are you?
Ooh, type of leader am I? I'm the type of person, like, I'll try to lead by example, but if I really need help, I've gotten through this, by the way, with the entire stubbornness and pride part, but I'll ask, like, I'll slightly delegate. I'll still do I'll keep most of the burden on my shoulders, but I'll like every now and then ask for like a slight amount of help with like a small list of things. That's how I usually lead.
I think the type of leader that I am is an engaged leader. Like, because everyone knows the idea of look a boss. A boss is above you. They tell you what to do. You go do the task, and they are a leader, but they're not a very good leader. And to me, a good leader is one that is there with you, engaged with you, and taking you along with them. They are at the front lines leading. They're not trying to get somebody else to do the task for them. And so in the type of leader that I am is I want to engage people with what I'm doing and have them be a part of it. I don't want to just try and do something by myself or get others to do work for me. I want to engage others and be engaged with them while doing something.
I would have to say being a good leader is acts of service. I mean, as a senator, we're here for the students. This isn't about us and what we believe. I don't know, me personally, acts of service are a huge thing. So I have a trivia question that students have been asking me, and they pull it out and it says, what's your favorite gift? And my favorite gift is when somebody goes out and gets wildflowers. They have to put effort behind it. It's the effort behind it, not just, oh, go get me flowers, like not having to tell people to do things. I feel really good about myself, and I like seeing the looks on other people's faces when I hurt them, which is part of the reason I like working in healthcare. Not when I hurt them, oh my goodness, sorry. But like when they're hurt, I can help them. So when you come to like urgent care and oh my goodness, I totally fell off the monkey bars, my thumb is sideways, what do I do? Being able to not only fix the thumb, but comfort them and see them leaving with a smile. Very good. Yeah, I don't hurt people.
I think I'm a great leader. And I think being a great leader just basically means being part of the group, kind of like Ty was saying, is don't just be the main boss and bark orders that people say, you do this, you do this, you do this. But being like, okay, I'm gonna do this if you guys would want to do this to help me out with this and this. And just making sure that you have a game plan for whatever's going on. And one of my biggest mottos in life is fake it till you make it. And that's also what I do with my leadership. I have found that if people think you're confident, they will listen to you and they will believe you're confident, even if you don't feel it at all. But I found that confidence is key, and just make the people who are working with you, if they think they're confident, they're going to trust you. And just having that trust and mutual respect is super important as a leader too. Just very, very important, respect and trust.
I'd say I'm a very supportive leader. So I like to try to always bring out the best in everyone. So I could be standing there and leading at the front of it and being like, this is what I'm doing, do what I'm doing kind of thing. Or I can show what needs to be done and encourage them to try it and help them when they need it. And it's usually like the approach I take, and I do try to kind of think of myself as like a strong backbone to any system, that I'm a leader and where I can support them, but also help them thrive in their own independent way.
You know, I've been trying to think of a way to describe the type of leader I am. The best I can come up with is called my new Trojan horse theory. And that is that the idea behind it is that the way I lead is obviously as a senator, I'm in a higher position of power than the rest of the students. And I haven't seen the numbers recently, if it's 1,500 to 2,000-ish students at EOU. But those students, they're not given the same opportunities to make change as I am. So what I like to do is I like to hear them out. They give me their ideas and I like to voice their ideas for them. So that's the idea of the Trojan horse. Like they use me to get their ideas heard.
Very nice. That concludes my list of questions for you all this evening. Our next panel will be March the 7th, that is Tuesday. It will be at 4 p.m. Until then, let's have a great evening.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just for the record, I don't hurt